Hello again, everyone. I am Chris Scherer, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. Robert Harding and Justin Ritzler are with me, although not in person, but they're with us via Zoom. And hey, it's week one of the NFL. Oh, we've been waiting for this for a long time. All those times in May and June, we would be talking NFL when there was, there were no games to talk about. We still talked NFL. That's how much we love it. But we've got real live games coming up. Tomorrow night is the first game. And of course, this also means the return of our annual tradition, the pick four. It used to be pick six back when Robert and I were the two guys doing it. But of course, Justin's joined us the last couple of years. And it's now a trio, which means we do four games. And last year, Robert and I were co-champions. And he got the Super Bowl and I didn't, but he was nice enough to get me a wonderful trophy. Yep, he's holding up one right there. I've got one too. Very proud of it. The coolest trophy I've received since coming in second place in the Pinewood Derby in the Cub Scouts back at Lincoln Elementary back in the mid-'70s. It's a great trophy. Love it. Look at it every day. Quite proud of that trophy. Anyway, so it's a new season. Everybody's back to even 0-0. We're picking four games, all of them against the spread. And of course, as you know, in New York State, you can legally gamble on sports. You can go to one of the casinos upstate. And hopefully, and Robert would know more about this than me, hopefully by the Super Bowl, we will be able to place sports bets on our phones, which will be even more cool, hopefully. He's not looking too optimistic. I don't see a big smile on his face, so
Well, I do think it'll be in place by the Super Bowl, but what a wasted opportunity not to have it in place for the entire NFL season. I mean,
I know literally New York State is not say throwing away, but they had an opportunity to basically make millions of dollars in revenue if they had this thing going for week one. And it's amazing that other states, what am I thinking about? Arizona got theirs up and running pretty quickly. Connecticut, I think, got theirs up and running pretty quickly. I mean, the infrastructure is already there. The companies that run these DraftKings and the FanDuels and the BetMGMs and all the other online mobile sports books, I mean, it would have been very easy for them to get things up and running. But of course, we have to wait on the bureaucracy known as New York State. So, all right, enough rambling. Let's get to it. Our first game, I had to pick I'm picking these games, by the way. These are mine for week one, my choices for these four games. So, of course, you have to pick the opening game. Tomorrow night, Dallas at the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This line opened up, I think, around 7.5. It's now 8.5. It's a really healthy line. I guess a lot of people must be betting the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, and they've increased the spread to 8.5. So that being said, Dak Prescott is back. He's supposedly healthy. Mike McCarthy, a good offensive coach. Zeke Elliott. Look, I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game, but I think Dallas is going to cover. I think they're going to lose by 7, maybe 6. So I like Tampa Bay to win, but I like Dallas to cover. Go ahead, Robert.
Dak Prescott is my fantasy quarterback, so I hope he gets plenty of yards and maybe a touchdown or two in garbage time. But look, I think that this is going to be a Buccaneers blowout victory. This is a huge moment for them, obviously, celebrating their Super Bowl title. It's a home game for them, so it's going to be huge. And, I think that they're going to want to put on a good show for the crowd. And remember, they got everybody coming back. The gang is back. Brady's going to have his assortment of weapons to choose from, whether it's Godwin, Evans, Brown. They added Giovanni Bernard in the backfield, who he's not going to be a top-tier rusher by any means. That'll be Fournette's job, but, he could be a receiving threat on his own. And, of course, you got Gronk there. And then that defense is pretty good. And I think that's going to be a real difference maker in this game because, you've got Dak coming back. And, after the injury he had, you wonder about how will he, ease back into play here? How will he handle that? I think he's going to be missing at least one offensive lineman. I believe Zach Martin's going to be out for this game. So that's a big loss, especially when you're going up against a pretty good defensive line, if not the best defensive line in football. I think it's going to be tough for the Cowboys offense in this one. And of course, that defense, maybe they've gotten a little better in the offseason. The addition of Micah Parsons will help, but I think there's a lot to be concerned about on that side of the ball. I like the Buccaneers to win and cover in this one.
All right. Justin, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm with Robert. I just look at the long history of the defending Super Bowl champs and their home opener the following season. And it's just kind of like you're throwing the pigs to the slaughter a little bit in terms of the Cowboys. The defending champs have just such a long history of winning this game, and more often than not, winning it decisively. The only game that comes to mind where the road team came in and won was, I think had to be 2017 when the Chiefs went into Foxborough and beat the Patriots. Maybe I'm mixing up my years a little bit there, but
right.
But yeah, I think there's just a lot going against the Cowboys in this game. Is Dak Prescott healthy? I don't know. He sat out the beginning of training camp because his shoulder was bugging him. He's coming off a really serious injury. I don't think that's an injury, even though he was able to come back to camp, for the start. He was ready for camp. I don't think a broken, separated, grotesque ankle is something that you just come back and you're 100% right away in terms of just the mental aspect. Physically, he might be okay, but mentally, I'm not sure he's there yet. And this Cowboys defense stinks. So I think the Buccaneers, with that continuity, should be able to go up and down the field on them. If Dallas is going to win, I think they have to throw it 50 times, and I'm just not sure they have the offensive line to hold up against the Buccaneers. Now, I will say this, because Robert, you said, the Buccaneers, they're bringing back all their players from last year, blah, blah, blah. That's such an advantage. Hey, you're not the first one to say that. So I don't want to poke fun at you specifically, but I feel like most Super Bowl champs do tend to bring back at least 99% of their starters. It's still incredibly difficult to repeat. The Chiefs did the same thing after winning a couple years ago. And guess what? Injuries happen. Players are a year older. And the Buccaneers had great injury luck last year. I don't think that'll continue. But for week one, I love them in this matchup against the Cowboys.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, Justin, remember, I don't think that Dallas is going to win the game. I just think Dallas is going to cover the spread. That's all.
Yeah.
So both you guys are picking Tampa Bay to cover 8.5. So, all right, there we go.
I just want to add one thing, to the last point that Justin made. I think that the difference with the Buccaneers is that they had some guys, Chris Godwin, who's easily either the best or number 2 receiver on that team. Leonard Fournette, I think, could have left. You look on the defensive side of the ball, I think Sue was a question mark. That's just to name a few. I know that there might be some others that I'm leaving out, but those are all guys that could have left in free agency, and somehow the Buccaneers made it work. They wanted those guys back. They made it work. I know that there's been a lot of salary cap games being played, and the Buccaneers aren't the only one doing that. So I do think that in that context, it is impressive that they were able to bring back those star type players really in today's NFL. I think they did benefit a little bit by the situation that teams found themselves in, where it's salary cap's going down this year and we don't have a whole lot of money to spend. So I think that it did help the Bucs in that way. But, still, I think it is impressive to a degree that they are able to keep intact that team. I agree with you. It's going to be, that's why I didn't pick them to win the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk to win the Super Bowl or go undefeated or whatever they're talking about, but to bring back, your roster essentially from the Super Bowl season, not an easy thing to do in the NFL, as we know, with the salary cap and everything. And, certainly it positions them pretty well to at least make another run at it this year.
All right, our next game, Robert's Buffalo Bills, the defending AFC East champions. I'm sure he loves hearing that. And they are home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the spread is Buffalo -6.5. I'll tell you this. I am so confident about the Bills covering. I would take the Bills if they were -10 or 11, double digits. That's how confident I am. Look, the Steelers, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's a year older. I've heard he's lost some weight. He's in better shape, whatever. Okay. He's got a rookie running back in Najee Harris, which, not a bad running back, no doubt. But I think the Steelers, I mean, look, we saw what happened against Cleveland last year in the first round of the playoffs. They got absolutely blown out at home. The Steelers are a paper tiger, okay? They're the third best team in their division, okay? I think Buffalo wins this game easily and covers. No problemo, as the late, great Herb Tarlick used to say in WKRP in Cincinnati. No problemo. Buffalo easily covering -6.5. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, we all know who Robert's going to pick, but you might as well make it
first.
You might as well make it a clean sweep. I mean, you just have to look back to last season when these two teams played in Buffalo in an empty. It was Bills Stadium last year. Now it's Highmark Stadium, but it was an empty stadium, and the Bills won by 11. And they did so in a game where Josh Allen didn't really have one of his better games. Granted, the Steelers have a great defense, but I think that was a dominant win, and they didn't even play their best. I have a hard time seeing the Steelers come in and keeping this game within a touchdown. And I'll say this about Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers are trying to update their offense. They brought in a new offensive coordinator. They want to be more modern with it as far as doing a lot more play action and having Ben Roethlisberger under center and stuff. Here's a guy who, not to Chris Collinsworth it, but, here's a guy who has operated mostly out of shotgun for the last 10 years, where he's basically doing the Peyton Manning thing. He's calling out the defense, making adjustments at the line, and that's not going to be their offense as much this year. So, but Ben Roethlisberger, kind of like my guy Rodgers a couple years ago when he had a new offense, he's used to doing things a certain way. He's a little stubborn. I think the Steelers offense might be in good shape by the end of the year, but I think week one, you're going to see a lot of struggles as far as that adjustment. So I like everything about the Bills in this game. I think they're the better team. And then considering kind of the newness of the Steelers offense, I like the Bills even more. Same thing, Chris. If this was 10 points, I'd probably still pick the Bills.
Robert, obviously we know who you're picking.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bills are going to take this one. I'm confident in that. To kind of add to what Justin was talking about, you're coming in with a new offense and you're going on the road to one of the loudest stadiums in the league. So not only are do you have to execute that offense, but there's a lot of communication involved, that kind of thing. That's going to be tough, a tough debut for them, on the road, in that environment. That's a tough place to try to break this all in. So I think it's going to take some time. To Justin's point again, I think by the end of the season, the Steelers will be fine. They have plenty of guys on that offense, great receiving core. We'll see what Najee Harris can bring to the offense. He's a guy that, can run the ball pretty well. I mean, his running, I think, has been compared to Derrick Henry in a lot of ways, but he's also more of a receiving threat than Derrick Henry will ever be. That could add an interesting dimension to the Steelers offense. But look, the Bills, and I think that they're getting a lot of respect from, these so-called experts out there, because you look at this team and they're a great all-around team. You look at the defense, and I think it's fair to say this defense didn't perform up to the level that they were expected to perform at for much of last season. I think you'll see that change this year, especially with the improvements along the defensive front. All of those guys have looked really good. I'd look for AJ Epinesa to have a huge year because he's really looked good in the preseason, and I think he'll continue that in the regular season. And then, of course, the offense. You've got Josh Allen leading the way, the future NFL MVP. Even with COVID Beasley on the roster. I think that this is, this is an excellent offense, and you've got Stephon Diggs. I think he'll look to have another great season, posting the big numbers. So I think that this is if you're the Steelers, you didn't want this. You knew you were going to play the Bills this year. You didn't want it to be week 1. And of course, you don't want it to be at the Artist, formerly known as the Ralph. This is going to be a blowout win, I think, for the Bills as well.
Wow. That's hilarious. COVID Beasley. I like that one. That's fun. All righty. Our next game. I've been waiting to say this for months and months. My Miami Dolphins going up to New England, going up to Foxborough. The legend known as Bob Socci on the call for the Patriots radio network. Always got to give Bob a plug because he's a good guy and definitely deserves it and everything. But he'll be
friend of show.
Friend of the show, yep. And he is the New England Patriots radio play-by-play announcer, entering, I believe, his 9th season with New England. Hard to believe, 9 years already. But the Patriots are 3-point favorites against the Dolphins. I am picking Miami to cover. In fact, I'm picking Miami to win this game. Okay, and I will tell you why. I think Miami has made a concerted effort to obviously bolster their offense with weapons for Tua Tagovailoa. I'll be able to say that eventually someday. I just call him Tua. But Will Fuller, their big free agency acquisition from Houston, is ineligible to play in this game. He's serving the last game of a suspension for PEDs. But we got Jalen Waddle, we got Albert Wilson back, Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant Jr. The running game, it's middling, but I think sufficient. But the offensive line is the one part that gives me some trepidation about this, because the Dolphins' offensive line, Austin Jackson is on the COVID list. He's the starting left tackle. He may or may not be playing on Sunday. We don't know. But Miami's offensive line, there's been a lot of like a chemistry experiment. Let's put this guy here. Let's put this guy here and see how it works out. That's really my only cause for concern. But here's the reason why I'm picking Miami to win. I think Tua, he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think that, and there was legit criticism of his season. He had a decent season as a rookie quarterback, but not what people were expecting because he was the 5th overall pick. Okay. And of course, before the injuries, he might've been the number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. So irregardless, I think Tua is very motivated. He worked hard this offseason, and I think he's fully healthy, and I think he's very motivated, and I think he's going to show the reason why Miami drafted him number 5 overall. And then you've got New England, Matt Jones, rookie quarterback, and I get it. It's a Belichick offense and everything and whatever. He's supposed to be really good, but it's still his first NFL start. Miami's defense, very good. I know they've lost a couple players, they let a couple. Kyle Van Noy back with the Patriots. I get that. He's going to be pretty motivated, but I think Miami's defense, especially that secondary, is going to be the key. And I think Miami can pull off the upset. So, obviously I got Miami covering -3, but I like them to win. I think they can definitely, if they don't turn over the football and they play the type of game they're capable of, I like Miami to win this game and definitely cover -3. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, Chris, you say that Tua has a chip on his shoulder. You know who else has a chip on his shoulder? The greatest coach, arguably, of all time, Bill Belichick, who watched his homeboy Tom Brady go down to Tampa Bay and win a Super Bowl without him while his team couldn't even make the playoffs. They won like 7 games, and it was largely a disastrous season in New England. I think Bill Belichick, and this was shown in the way they handled the offseason, I think he's pissed that Tom went and won a Super Bowl and his team couldn't even make the playoffs. And think of this with the Patriots. All those players that they lost last year due to COVID because they opted out, well, all those guys are back. Dante Hightower is one of them. He's a great defensive player. Stephon Gilmore played last year, but he was hurt. He's actually going to miss this game. But I just think, even though I picked Miami to be the better team in this division by a game by season's end, I think week 1, the Patriots are going to come out at home and cover this spread. I just think they have a good defense, and I haven't seen it from Tua to make me think otherwise yet. So I think this will be a close game. I could actually see it ending up being a push, but I will take the Patriots to win by over 3.
Robert?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think that too much focus is on the quarterbacks here because, look, I'm sick of talking about these dog Alabama quarterbacks. This is year 2 of this garbage with, 8-yard Tua. Now we've got the overhyped Mac Jones. I hope that Mac Jones proves me wrong, but my God, that they have overhyped this guy during the preseason for things that he's done against second teamers and, limited action against first teamers. I mean, come on, let's see him in regular season play first before we anoint this guy the Tom Brady 2.0. For me, this comes down to not even related to quarterback play. I think it really comes down to the defenses, and I think the Patriots will make the difference here. I think the Patriots defense is going to be much better than it was last year. If you remember, they had a lot of guys bow out of the season due to COVID. They've rebuilt that defense, I think, and I know that they'll be without Gilmore, but if there's a game to miss, you miss it against Tua, who can't throw past the stick. So I think the Patriots will win this one. Again, I think that there's a lot of excitement here for the Patriots, and not just related to Mac Jones, but just the way that they've been able to rebuild this team. Obviously, on the offensive side of the ball, they added some tight ends that will surely factor into their season this year as long as they're healthy. And again, the defense, that's a Belichick staple right there. And so I think that's going to make the difference in this one. The Dolphins, to their credit, they do have a great defense. It carried Tua through some of those games. I know that Chris, certain folks from your generation love to focus on quarterback records, but let's not forget how many times the Dolphins defense made plays in those games that really made the difference. Think of that Rams game without that defense, they likely don't win that game. So, I think this will be a low scoring game, but at the end of it, the Patriots will be the victors.
So you're picking New England to cover -3.
That's correct.
All right. Just want to make sure I got that right. So they're going to win by 4 more than obviously. All right. Our last game. By the way, if you live in central New York in the Syracuse area, Miami, New England is the late game on CBS. It is not this game. It is not Cleveland, Kansas City. Miami, New England is your 4 o'clock game. Bills, Steelers at 1. Dolphins, Patriots at 4 o'clock, 4:30 on Sunday afternoon. So if you're expecting to see Cleveland and Kansas City on Channel 5 here in Syracuse at 4:30 on Sunday, unless something dramatically changes, you're out of luck. So with that being said, Cleveland and Kansas City. I mean, look, Cleveland, they had their chance to knock off Kansas City in the AFC Championship. I'm sorry, and I'm not in the AFC Championship game. I mean the divisional round. I'm sorry, it was Robert's Bills in the AFC Championship game. They had a chance, no doubt about it, but they couldn't pull it off. Kansas City, they rebuilt the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, not showing any signs of any let off, whatever you want to call it. He's still in the prime of his career. So, I mean, look, Cleveland is a great football team, and I think they're going to win the AFC North, no doubt about it. But Kansas City at home, opening game, -6, by the way. If it was below -6, I would be tempted to pick Cleveland to cover. But I think Kansas City can cover -6. I think they win by at least a touchdown, between 7 and 10 points. So I am picking Kansas City to cover against Cleveland. Go ahead, Robert.
I think this will be an interesting test for the Browns because, the Browns are another team that they're really being talked up this year, in the race for the AFC North title with Baltimore. And, I think this will be a test for Baker Mayfield and company, that defense. We'll see how they hold up against the Chiefs. But, I like the Chiefs here to win and cover in this one. They, again, another team that's really kept their core together. They've got Kelsey, they've got Hill, when you have those two guys, you're going to be a problem for opposing teams. And of course, Mahomes back there slinging it. And the defense is pretty good too. That defense, I think, has been underrated because the Chiefs offense gets so much attention, but certainly in the Super Bowl, they did get exposed a little bit there. So I think that maybe that helps the Browns a little bit, but at the end of it, I think if this turns into a shootout, the Chiefs will run away with it.
All right. Justin?
Just because the Kansas City Chiefs changed their offensive line does not mean it will be a better offensive line. And I think that's being lost upon people, is change does not mean better. It's different. But I don't know. I think the Browns can do a lot of things that'll give the Chiefs trouble. Yes, Kansas City did win that playoff game last year. It was a 5-point game, and the Browns couldn't win, even though Mahomes missed, the second half, or at least the fourth quarter. He got knocked out of the game. But, the Browns were oddly on their way to taking the lead with Mahomes in the game. But you remember that fumble play in the end zone, that guy dove for the pylon and ball slipped out of his hand. So I think the Browns actually, even before Mahomes exited, they were on their way to kind of really making that a great game. Some weird stuff happened, but I said it in our, season preview show last week that I think the Browns have one of the best rosters, 1-53 in the NFL. It's really going to come down to Baker Mayfield. And I think if your 8 out of 11 guys in the field are better, I think in this case, that'll equate to a win for the Browns. So I will take the points, and, we'll see if the Browns can actually win the game, but I do think they can at least cover the 6.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, this is great. 4 games. We only agreed, all 3 of us, on one of them. So this is going to be fun. There's going to be some separation in week 1 already. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, hey, folks, we appreciate you joining us. Enjoy week 1. To me, it's almost like Christmas. It's you're not the trepidation, but the anticipation, the excitement of week 1 of the NFL. There's nothing like it to me, and all of pro sports. Maybe opening day on baseball. Maybe the first day of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Maybe for Justin, it's the beginning of the NHL playoffs. I don't know, the Stanley Cup finals. But for me, week 1 of the NFL is a special, special Sunday, and I can hardly wait. So, guys, it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a lot of fun picking games against you. And with that being said, thanks to everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week.